The voice of Roy Orbison may have fallen silent decades ago, but his legacy is far from over. In 2026, his sons are still carrying the spirit of the rock legend who changed music forever. From preserving his timeless hits to introducing his story to new generations, the Orbison family continues to keep his influence alive. Their journey proves that some voices never truly fade away. Wesley Orbison. Wesley Orbison was born in 1965, the eldest surviving son of the legendary singer and songwriter Roy Orbison. His birth came during the height of his father's early fame, a time when Roy Orbison was already becoming one of the most distinctive voices in rock and pop music. Growing up in a household surrounded by music, recording sessions, and touring musicians, Wesley's earliest memories were tied to the creative world that shaped his father's career. Yet, despite the glamour associated with a rising star, Wesley's childhood was also marked by devastating tragedy that would deeply affect the Orbison family. In 1966, when Wesley was just a toddler, his mother, Claudette Frady Orbison, died in a motorcycle accident. The tragedy shocked the family and left Roy Orbison to raise his children while continuing his demanding music career. Claudette had been a significant part of Roy's life and even inspired several of his songs, including the famous hit, "Oh Pretty Woman." Her sudden death created a profound emotional void in the household and marked the beginning of a difficult period for the family. Only 2 years later, another catastrophe struck. In 1968, a fire engulfed the Orbison family home in Tennessee. Wesley narrowly escaped the blaze, but his two younger brothers, Roy Dwayne Orbison and Anthony King Orbison, tragically lost their lives in the disaster. The devastating loss left Wesley as the only surviving child from Roy Orbison's first marriage. For the young boy, the event became one of the defining moments of his life, shaping his outlook and deepening the bond he shared with his father. Despite these early hardships, Wesley grew up surrounded by the powerful legacy of his father's music. Roy Orbison's songs, such as Only the Lonely and Crying, were known for their emotional depth, and many observers have noted that the singer's personal tragedies influenced the haunting beauty of his performances. Wesley witnessed firsthand the dedication his father had to his craft, and over time he developed his own passion for music. As he matured, Wesley began exploring songwriting and guitar playing, gradually building his own creative identity while still honoring his father's influence. Rather than simply living in the shadow of Roy Orbison's fame, he sought ways to contribute meaningfully to the preservation of his father's artistic work. One of his most notable contributions came when he co-wrote the song "The Only One," which appeared on Roy Orbison's posthumous album Mystery Girl. Released in 1989 after Roy Orbison's death in 1988, the album became one of the most celebrated final recordings in rock history. Wesley's participation in the project demonstrated both his musical talent and his commitment to continuing his father's artistic vision. Beyond songwriting, Wesley gradually took on a more significant role in preserving and promoting the Orbison legacy. Alongside his half-brothers Roy Orbison Jr. and Alexander Orbison, he became involved in managing the estate and overseeing projects connected to their father's music. The brothers worked together on archival releases, remastered recordings, documentary projects, and tribute performances designed to introduce Roy Orbison's timeless music to new generations. Their efforts helped ensure that Roy Orbison's influence remained strong decades after his passing. The Orbison family has supported numerous releases, including restored concert footage, anniversary editions of classic albums, and collaborations with contemporary artists who continue to admire Roy's extraordinary voice and songwriting. Wesley's role in these projects reflects his dedication not only as a son, but also as a custodian of one of popular music's most respected legacies. By 2026, Wesley Orbison is widely regarded as a quiet but essential figure behind the continued preservation of Roy Orbison's artistry. While he has maintained a relatively private life compared to some members of the entertainment industry, his contributions, both creative and managerial, have played an important part in keeping his father's music alive. Through his work with his brothers and his involvement in key musical projects, Wesley has helped ensure that the haunting voice and unforgettable songs of Roy Orbison continue to resonate with audiences around the world. Roy Kelton Orbison Jr. Roy Kelton Orbison Jr. was born on October 18, 1970, the first child of legendary singer Roy Orbison and his second wife, Barbara Orbison. His birth marked a new chapter in Roy Orbison's life following years of profound personal tragedy. After losing his first wife and two sons in the late 1960s, the singer gradually rebuilt his family life, and Roy Jr.'s arrival symbolized hope and renewal. Growing up in a household filled with music, creativity, and industry professionals, Roy Jr. was immersed in the world of recording studios, touring musicians, and songwriting from a very young age. Unlike many children who only hear their parents work through records, Roy Jr. witnessed the artistic process firsthand. His childhood memories included watching musicians rehearse, seeing equipment set up for recording sessions, and listening as his father experimented with melodies and arrangements. While Roy Orbison was internationally celebrated for his powerful and emotional voice, Roy Jr. found himself drawn to a different aspect of music. Rather than focusing primarily on singing, he became fascinated by guitars, sound engineering, and the instrumental structure behind great recordings. As he grew older, Roy Jr. developed his own musical abilities as a guitarist, singer, and producer. He studied the craft carefully, learning not only how to perform, but also how to shape the sound of a recording from behind the scenes. His interests eventually led him to create and operate his own recording space, Pretty Woman Studio, named after his father's iconic hit, "Oh, Pretty Woman." The studio became a creative hub where Roy Jr. worked on both personal projects and productions connected to the Orbison musical catalog. Following the death of Roy Orbison in 1988, Roy Jr. gradually became one of the most visible representatives of the Orbison family. Together with his brothers, Wesley Orbison and Alexander Orbison, he took on the responsibility of preserving and expanding their father's artistic legacy. Through various family organizations, the brothers helped oversee publishing rights, licensing agreements, remastered releases, and new productions built around Roy Orbison's music. Their work ensured that the singer's recordings remained accessible to new audiences while also protecting the integrity of his original work. Roy Jr. also played a key role in bringing his father's music into the modern era. One of the most notable projects he helped oversee was the 2017 album A Love So Beautiful. The project paired Roy Orbison's original vocal recordings with newly recorded orchestral arrangements by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Roy Jr. served as an executive producer, helping guide the vision of blending classic vocals with contemporary orchestration. The album was both a commercial and artistic success, introducing Roy Orbison's voice to younger listeners, while reminding longtime fans of the timeless quality of his music. Beyond studio work and production, Roy Jr. has also become a public voice for the Orbison family. He frequently appears in documentaries, interviews, and musical tributes dedicated to his father's legacy. His deep knowledge of Roy Orbison's career, combined with his personal memories of life within the family, has made him a valuable storyteller about one of rock music's most influential figures. Family life has remained central to Roy Jr.'s identity. He shares his passion for music with his wife, Osa Orbison, and together they have raised children in an environment where creativity and performance are encouraged. By the 2020s, members of the third generation of the Orbison family had begun to show musical talents of their own, continuing the artistic tradition established by their grandfather. In 2025, this multi-generational passion for music became visible in a special holiday project, the album Orbison Family Christmas. The record featured performances from several members of the Orbison family, blending classic Christmas songs with their shared musical heritage. For Roy Jr., the album represented more than a seasonal release. It was a celebration of the family's enduring connection to music and to each other. By the mid-2020s, Roy Kelton Orbison Jr. had established himself as both a musician and a steward of his father's remarkable legacy. Through production work, archival projects, and collaborative family recordings, he has helped ensure that the unmistakable sound of Roy Orbison continues to inspire listeners around the world. His career reflects a unique balance, honoring the past while also guiding the Orbison musical tradition into the future. Alex Orbison. Alex Orbison, often affectionately called Orby, was born on May 25, 1975, the youngest son of the legendary singer Roy Orbison and his second wife, Barbara Orbison. Growing up in a household deeply rooted in music, Alex was surrounded by instruments, studio equipment, and the constant presence of musicians who collaborated with his father. From the beginning, music was simply part of everyday life. Recording sessions, songwriting discussions, and touring preparations were normal experiences in the Orbison home, giving Alex and his brother Roy Orbison Jr. an unusually close view of how professional music was created. As a child, Alex showed an early interest in learning instruments. However, like many young beginners, he encountered practical challenges. His hands were initially too small to handle a guitar comfortably, which led him to start his musical journey with the violin. The instrument helped him develop a strong sense of rhythm and musical discipline. Over time, though, Alex discovered that percussion suited his personality and energy better. When he began experimenting with drums, he quickly found his natural musical voice. The instrument allowed him to combine physical expression with rhythm, and it soon became the foundation of his musical identity. As he matured, Alex developed a versatile career that extended far beyond performing. He became known not only as a drummer, but also as a producer, writer, and creative director involved in multiple artistic fields. His work has included music production, film projects, and creative storytelling connected to the Orbison family history. In many ways, Alex's career reflects a blend of artistic creativity and careful stewardship of one of the most respected legacies in rock history. A turning point came in 2011 when his mother, Barbara Orbison, passed away. Barbara had been a major force behind preserving Roy Orbison's legacy after the singer's death in 1988. Following her passing, Alex returned to Nashville and began taking on greater responsibility in managing the family's musical business. Determined to continue the work his mother had started, he stepped into leadership roles within the organizations responsible for protecting and promoting Roy Orbison's music. Since 2012, Alex has served as president of the music publishing company Still Working Music Group, an organization dedicated to managing songwriting catalogs and developing creative opportunities for artists. In addition, he became a co-founder of Roy's Boys LLC, a company established by the Orbison brothers to oversee their father's recordings, publishing rights, and intellectual property. Through these organizations, Alex works closely with his brothers, Wesley Orbison and Roy Orbison Jr., to ensure that Roy Orbison's music remains carefully preserved while also being introduced to new audiences. In these roles, Alex has supervised numerous archival projects. These efforts have included remastered releases of classic recordings, previously unreleased material from the Orbison vaults, and documentary productions exploring the singer's remarkable life and career. By combining modern technology with historical preservation, Alex has helped maintain the timeless quality of Roy Orbison's recordings while making them accessible to listeners in the digital era. Despite his extensive business responsibilities, Alex has never abandoned his identity as a working musician. Drumming remains a central part of his creative life. Over the years, he has performed with various bands and musicians, demonstrating the same passion for live performance that defined his father's career. In 2024, he joined the Allman Betts Band as a drummer, adding his rhythm and experience to a group known for blending Southern rock traditions with contemporary influences. The collaboration highlighted Alex's ability to balance his role as a music executive with his ongoing commitment to performing. Roy Dwayne Orbison. Roy Dwayne Orbison was born on April 10, 1958, the first child of legendary singer Roy Orbison and his first wife, Claudette Frady Orbison. His birth came during the early stage of his father's rise in the music industry, a time when Roy Orbison was beginning to establish himself as one of the most distinctive voices in American rock and roll. Although the singer had not yet reached the global fame he would achieve in the early 1960s, his career was already gaining momentum through a growing reputation as a songwriter and performer. Roy DeWayne spent his earliest years in a household that was closely connected to the music world. As Roy Orbison's career expanded, the family frequently moved between Texas, Nashville, and other cities connected to the country and rock music industries. These moves reflected the demands of a career that involved recording sessions, television appearances, and concert tours across the United States and eventually around the world. Even as a small child, Roy DeWayne experienced the unusual rhythm of life that comes with having a parent in the entertainment business. During the early 1960s, Roy Orbison's career reached extraordinary heights. His emotional ballads and operatic singing style made him one of the most recognizable performers of the era. Songs such as Only the Lonely, Crying, and the global smash hit Oh, Pretty Woman turned him into an international star. For Roy DeWayne, this meant growing up during a period when his father was constantly traveling and performing for audiences around the world. Despite these demands, family members later recalled that Roy Orbison remained deeply devoted to his children whenever he was home. Those who knew the Orbison family described Roy DeWayne as a lively and curious child. He reportedly had a bright personality and a playful energy that brought warmth to the household. Like many children growing up around music, he was fascinated by instruments and performances. Observing his father's career sparked an early interest in music, and he often enjoyed listening to songs and watching musicians rehearse. However, tragedy struck the Orbison family in ways few could have imagined. In 1966, Roy DeWayne's mother, Claudette, died in a motorcycle accident. The sudden loss devastated the family and left Roy Orbison a widower, responsible for raising his sons while continuing his demanding career. The children struggled with the emotional impact of losing their mother, and the family entered a difficult and uncertain period. Only 2 years later, an even more heartbreaking disaster occurred. On September 14, 1968, a fire broke out at the Orbison family home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. At the time, Roy Orbison was touring in the United Kingdom, performing for international audiences. The fire spread quickly through the house, leaving little time for rescue. Tragically, Roy DeWayne and his younger brother Anthony King Orbison lost their lives in the blaze. The shocking tragedy stunned the music community. News of the fire spread rapidly, and friends, fellow musicians, and fans expressed deep sympathy for Roy Orbison. For the singer, the loss was almost unimaginable. Within just a few years, he had lost both his wife and 2 of his children, tragedies that left a lasting emotional scar on his life. Many people close to Roy Orbison later described this period as the darkest chapter he ever experienced. Despite his immense grief, he eventually returned to performing, though the sorrow he carried often appeared reflected in the emotional depth of his music. Songs known for their themes of loneliness and heartbreak seemed to take on even greater meaning in light of the tragedies he endured. Although Roy DeWayne Orbison's life lasted only 10 years, his memory remained deeply important to the Orbison family. Relatives and friends remembered him as a joyful boy who loved his family and admired his father. His brief life became part of the powerful and often heartbreaking story behind Roy Orbison's music and personal journey. Anthony King Orbison. Anthony King Orbison was born on June 29, 1962, the third son of the legendary singer Roy Orbison and his first wife, Claudette Frady Orbison. Arriving during the height of his father's rapidly growing music career, Anthony entered a family life that was closely intertwined with the excitement and pressures of the 1960s entertainment world. By the early 1960s, Roy Orbison had already begun to achieve remarkable success, earning a reputation as one of the most distinctive and emotional voices in rock and pop music. Anthony grew up during a period when his father's career was reaching global prominence. Roy Orbison's dramatic ballads and powerful vocal style had captivated audiences around the world. Songs such as Only the Lonely and Crying had already established him as a major figure in the music industry, and the release of the international hit Oh Pretty Woman in 1964 further cemented his place among the most recognizable artists of the era. While Roy Orbison toured extensively and appeared on television programs across the United States and Europe, his young sons were growing up in a household that constantly moved between family life and the demands of international fame. As the youngest of the three brothers at the time, Anthony shared a close bond with his siblings, especially his older brother, Roy Orbison. The boys spent their childhood years together, experiencing both the excitement of their father's rising success and the challenges that came with a parent who often had to travel for work. Family members later described Anthony as a cheerful and affectionate child, full of youthful curiosity and energy. His presence added warmth to the Orbison household, which was frequently filled with music, visiting musicians, and creative activity. However, the mid-1960s brought heartbreaking changes to the family. In 1966, Anthony's mother, Claudette, tragically died in a motorcycle accident. Her death left the three boys without their mother and deeply affected Roy Orbison, who was suddenly forced to balance his career with the responsibility of raising his children while grieving a devastating personal loss. Despite these hardships, the family tried to maintain stability and support one another during this difficult period. Just 2 years later, an even more tragic event occurred, one that would permanently mark the Orbison family's history. On September 14, 1968, a fire broke out at the family home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. At the time of the disaster, Roy Orbison was touring in the United Kingdom and was thousands of miles away from home. The boys were being cared for by relatives when the fire started and quickly spread throughout the house. The blaze rapidly engulfed the residence, leaving little opportunity for rescue. Tragically, Anthony King Orbison and his brother Roy both lost their lives in the fire. Anthony was only 6 years old. The devastating accident shocked not only the Orbison family, but also the broader music community, which had followed Roy Orbison's remarkable career throughout the decade. When news of the tragedy reached Roy Orbison overseas, it left him completely shattered. Friends and fellow musicians later described the moment as one of the most heartbreaking events in the singer's life. Within just a few years, he had lost his wife and 2 of his children, losses that created a profound emotional weight he carried for the rest of his life. After the fire, Roy Orbison's surviving son from his first marriage, Wesley Orbison, became the only remaining child from that part of the family. The tragedy marked a turning point for the singer, influencing both his personal life and the emotional depth that audiences often sensed in his performances. Many biographers and music historians have noted that the sorrow and resilience reflected in Roy Orbison's later career cannot be separated from the immense personal losses he endured. What do you think about Roy Orbison's children? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.